I got a question for you right now. Are you spending a lot of time getting pre-approvals only to find out that these pre-approvals vanish on you? Do you want to know why? Do you want to know what to do in order to keep these people coming back to you when it comes time for them to enter into contract? When it comes time for them to open up escrow, you're the first one to call? Do you want to know how to avoid wasting a ton of time getting people pre-approved letters to go shop just to end up shopping you? If that's happening to you right now, you're going to want to stick around and watch this video. I'm going to help you out a great deal in distinguishing yourself and differentiating yourself amongst the rest. Welcome back. My name is Daniel. Welcome to Sales Remastered. This is a channel that's designed for mortgage bankers. If this is your first time visiting the channel, consider hitting subscribe if at the end I've earned your credit, if I earned your admiration and I earned your respect and saying, hey man, this dude knows what the fuck he's talking about. Maybe I should check out his other videos and then realize that, oh shit, this dude's running the #1 team in the largest mortgage banking institution in the country. This dude might know what's up. I invite you. So take a ride with me. What you're going to find here on this channel is a lot of content of me driving. You know, I'm either driving home from the gym or to work from home, much like what I'm doing right now. And I try and bring the absolute most value to the industry that has blessed me so much, to an industry that did not show me any discrimination because of my background, my lack of education, the way I talk, right? It didn't hold no lines to me. It didn't block me. It didn't say, hey, no, you can't enter because you don't got a PhD. And so what I did was I used this industry and I used this job title as a bridge to bring not only myself but my family to the levels that I desired. And those levels have to do with financial freedom. Those levels have to do with financial stability, right? Flexibility. I'm not trying to, fluff my own horn. I ain't trying to brag or nothing. But what I'm saying is that I'm not necessarily counting my money at the cash register. Like, I'm not looking at price tags per se. Like, if you want it, get it. If you need it, you better get it, right? And so I want to bring you there. I want to get you to that destination because I believe that you may be working as hard as you can right now in this industry. And without the proper guidance or without the proper mentoring, that's all it will be, is just working hard. And what you want to do is you want to get paid for that work, right? You want to see some return on that invested time, on those sacrificed weekends, on those 45-minute calls answering questions about everything that has to do with real estate, that has to do with purchase. And so what I'm going to share with you in this episode is a technique that's going to have these pre-approved home buyers come back to you when it's time to get pre-approved. And so what I've noticed is that mortgage bankers are spending a lot of time going through the right process, getting the interest, asking the questions. But what happens when you give them their pre-approval letter? They end up going shopping, right? And sometimes the home buying decision or the process just to even find a house, because mind you, I mean, we're still in a market where, there are still bidding wars, right? So you could have a pre-approved buyer make an offer, they get outbidded, and then they got to go shop again. And this could happen multiple times in some cases. And so the process from pre-approval to actually opening up contract can be rather long. I mean, it can last upwards to about 3 to 6 months. And so what we have to do though is we don't want to babysit that file, right? Like, you can't call every day and be like, hey, just checking in. Did you open up escrow? Did you find a house? But what you can do though is be methodical in the way you prepare your buyer to go shopping. And that's really what it has to do with retaining their attention and retaining their interest. Because at the end of the day, like, when you get them pre-approved and you hand off that pre-approval letter and that gives them right to go shop, what happens when they go shop is they cloud their brain with so much other data outside of your name and your phone number. To be honest with you, they really don't remember you. They don't remember you because they've already given the pre-approval letter to their agent. So it's not like they're holding their pre-approval letter. It's not like they got a badge that they got to wear when they go to open houses. You basically give it to them once, and then they hand it off to their realtor, and then their realtor will then kind of keep it in their record. And so when the realtor makes an offer into escrow and says, hey, my client wants to buy this house, they submit the offer letter. But a lot of times they just need the pre-approval letter for the realtor to know that they're not wasting time showing you houses in this price bracket. And so what we sometimes as mortgage bankers believe is that when we give them a pre-approval letter, then they have to go through us. In all reality, if you can approve them, everyone else can, right? Or more than likely, there are other competitors or other lenders that can do the same thing as you. And so we have to kind of initiate this relationship or establish this relationship where there is not only mystery involved, right? Because they need to know what's on the other side. And we need to build up the anticipation for when it comes time that their offer is accepted and they actually open up escrow. And so during your pre-approved process, you want to allude to that time. You want to paint that picture. And if you don't know what that picture looks like, you need to meet with your sales manager. You need to meet with someone who's closed more than a couple dozen purchase transactions so they could share with you their experience. They could share with you the challenges that they faced on the deals that they lost. You are probably going through that right now, and my strongest recommendation to you is to learn why that you're losing your pre-approved letters, and this is where it becomes a little bit difficult, and it might be outside of your comfort zone because it requires that you do an outbound call. And depending on what atmosphere you're in, or what kind of call center you're in, or what kind of environment you're in, you may not necessarily do outbound calls. So you could probably just be getting nothing but inbounds, pre-approving them, setting them on their way, crossing your fingers that they call you back, and then go from there. But if you'd like to increase your chances of the prospects calling you back, you have to leave the pre-approved process. When you hand off that pre-approval letter, you have to create a bond that makes them want to revisit you or keeps you inside of their mind, right? And so one strategy that I use is I use an email drip campaign that I will remind myself to do. So your CRM doesn't even necessarily need to do it. You just simply it does require a little bit of more admin effort, right? But to each his own. If your CRM currently does automated drips for you, where you can design an automated email to go out to a certain batch of leads, like for example, if you're able to create what's called buckets. Buckets is in your CRM, you're able to bucket certain leads. So I got buckets of VA loans, I got buckets of FHA loans, I got buckets of FHA purchase, streamlines, IRRRLs. I even got a bucket that says pre-approved letters, or PALs. This is what we call them in our company. And you might call it something different. You might call it Pre-Qual, or you might call them pre-approved or whatever, but we call them PAL for pre-approved letter. And so ultimately this pre-approved letter is different from pre-qualification. A pre-qualification can be given by anyone with an MLS license. A pre-approved letter, though, is something that has a little bit more meat to it. So in other words, maybe it was pre-underwritten. Maybe you had a full file, like 2 years tax returns, bank statements, assets verification. Everything has been ironed out, right? That is a pre-approval. And so depending on, again, your environment, your company's protocol, or your current sales process, you may only get them to a pre-qualification level. So you just kind of quickly ask about income, you quickly ask about an idea, and then you're easily sending them out some sort of pre-qual letter saying, hey, I talked to Jim Jones, and Jim Jones is pre-qualified for $985,000. Well, the problem with that is that if in the event they speak to another agent, or they speak to another lender that says, hey, all you got is pre-qual, we need you pre-approved, then they've taken the attention away from you. So but then you might be like, hey, but D, I don't have the ability to do a pre-approval letter, bro. In my department, all I can do is a pre-qual. What do I do then? Well, what you do then is you allude to the fact that they need to get back to you once they found the house that they want to make an offer on. So once they found the house, and you build up that excitement, right? And say you will know that you found the house just because once you walk in, you feel it. And you're going to start planning where your furniture is going to go. You're going to have an emotional tie to the home. You're going to want it so bad that you're just going to know. You're just like, dude, let's make an offer right now. And in some cases, you might even consider going at full asking price or above it. This is when you know. Well, it's important that when you get to that point, and that you and your realtor contact me right away, because I need to pull up information on that property. Not only that, but I want to position you more favorably to know what what the likelihood of that house selling for X amount of price. I also want you to know what the school rating is, and if that's if that even applies to them, like they got kids or they plan to have kids. This is something that you can learn in the pre-qualification, or at least the first conversation. And you allude to the fact that when it comes time, the last thing you want to do is enter into a contract pre-qualified. So fortunately, this conversation I'm having with you right now is really kind of just your stepping stone to get out there and start shopping. Now, while you shop, you're going to get solicited, because I have to, at some point, some lenders may need to do a credit inquiry just to do a pre-qual, right? Or a pre-approval. And so that credit inquiry typically triggers other companies to contact them, and they can find out if they're renters or they're homeowners. But where it comes down to is you have to properly set the expectation and let them know what's to come. So in other words, say, hey, this pre-qualification letter, this pre-approval letter, whatever you're dishing out, say it has a specific case number that I need to make sure is plugged in at the time that you are pre-approved, because we all go to the same place for the financing. It's either Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA, or FHA, right? So because I have it time-stamped and I have it pre-qualified, I can extend to you a much faster process. In other words, I can fast-track your process to get actual pre-approved for the exact home, the exact price, so that you're not going in with a pre-qualification letter or a pre-approval letter of $800,000, but the house is only for $750,000. Right? Because what happens when your realtor sees that is your realtor may not look at those options. So it's important that when you enter into a contract, or when you extend an offer, that if that realtor, whoever asks for your pre-qual or your pre-approval, that number is directly in line with what price you're offering, right? And so, or at least within a kind of like a buffer, like a $10,000-$15,000 buffer. But what happens though is that when it gets time for them to get pre-approved, they're going to remember you. And where the email drip campaign comes in, and your CRM should have it. If you're not sure, meet with your SM, meet with your IT department, find out how you could create this batch of lead data that sits in a specific milestone or lead status that could just be pre-qualified, or it could be pre-approved, or it could be shopping or whatever. And what happens is every week you set up to that batch a fun fact message that goes out to that group of people. And the reason for that is because number one is it keeps you in their inbox, it keeps you on their radar. And so every message could be a fun fact, but then alludes to a disclaimer and say, hey, reminder, when you find that home, be sure to contact me so that I can plug in your case number and expedite your process to get pre-qualified or pre-approved, or however your process is working. And so then you might be like, well, Daniel, I can go ahead and give a pre-approval. I have that authorization, or my platform and my company does provide that particular service. So what do I do then? Well, what you do then is you explain that your pre-approved letter is basically as good as cash, right? And so you want to suggest to them that a lot of realtors are incentivized by builders and their in-house lender, meaning that they'll give them a kickback if they refer other, if they refer buyers to them. And the reason why I'm bringing this up to you is because if they're giving them kickback, if they're paying the realtor, if they're paying the builder for these particular leads, well, guess what? Guess who's really paying for it? That's you. And so if they paid this realtor $3,000 for a referral, guess where that $3,000 is hidden? It's in your pricing. So to avoid that altogether, you want to avoid further credit inquiries. You don't want to, open a new debt liability. You don't want to go buy a new car or go get a new timeshare. That's the last thing you want to do, at least until we fund the purchase loan, because as we go through this pre-approval process, you want to position yourself more favorably to get through with a quick close. Because there's so much inventory, you need as much leverage as a shopper to stand out amongst all the other offers. And what I have found are those that don't have the credit inquiries that bring the credit scores down, are those that don't have the additional liabilities that were accrued during the 3 to 6 month shopping window, right? Because a lot of people will apply for debt. You'll probably find a home, it needs this debt, you'll probably go apply for financing elsewhere for the appliances, and then end up not even getting the home, or just believing that you need it in the future. And it is important to me to ensure that the house that you find and you want, you get. And I'm going to be the one to help you do that. So be sure to contact me once you find that home. Once you have a slightest notion or feeling that this might be the one, contact me so I could properly update you on the details of that property, the history of that property, the school district of that property, the neighborhood of that property, the comps of that property. And so now they're vested, or they're at least, they're incentivized to call you because they need that pocket of information. And that's one way to make it stand out. I'm gonna be dropping more content on how to make you stand out, not only for purchase business, but for refinance business also, because there are more competitors and because there are bigger conglomerate companies that are just buying out the data and throwing out just the absolute lowest rate and fees. I want to make sure that you win. So stick around. Again, hit the subscribe, hit that bell so that you're notified of the content that I upload on a daily basis. And if it catches your eye, take a peek at it. Let me know what your comments are. Let me know what your thoughts are by commenting below. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.